Alright, hey guys, welcome to a brand new video. Today we're talking about the Chicago River. Now you may be saying, why are you talking about the Chicago River? Well, the reasoning is because I'm from Chicago. I was gonna go to the lake, but my cameraman is on break. That rhymed. Yeah, I mean, it's just too busy out here. It's too cold out here, bro. It's not snowing, but it might as well be snowing. Yeah. Back to you, me in the future. Do like a cool transition with that. But today, of course, I am joined by this guy right here. Me. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Arel,
the video game nerd.
You really did not have to play that. Or Asteroidpine. And listen, man, I'm kind of glad this is the final year of this because we've been doing this for almost 6 years, and I'm gonna need a break at some point. And you will. Maybe. But let's get right into it. The Chicago River was first come up upon, because of course there were people living there before, by a French and a Canadian explorer in 1673. They were trying to get to Mississippi, I believe, and they kind of got led to a shortcut. Someone was like, hey, shortcut. And, they had to get out the water, carry their boats, and they found a little river that went down there, to get to Mississippi. So they went into that. Of course, the word spread around, and it became a known shortcut to get to other places. By the way, I find it hella funny that they weren't a big fan of maps back then. Someone always was telling them to go somewhere. Like, you gotta ask someone, and then they just kind of that's like the way that they get around. Honestly, if I was back in the day, I would not be able to navigate at all. Sometime in the late 1770s, a man by the name of here we go again. DuSable. Say his full name, my guy. A man by the name of Jean Baptiste Point DuSable, who was a French man, obviously, and a black man. If you weren't aware, being black in that time was not a good thing. Who were the first people to settle in Chicago, and him and his wife built a house on the riverbank. The first people to ever do it. What's the name of his wife? Come on, say it. Come on, just say the whole thing. Say her name. Say your name. Say my name. His wife's name was Kitawata. Yo, I promise I'm not being like. I promise this isn't like a thing, bro. It's just I don't know how to say it. But eventually, after they settled, it became a large trading post. But all wasn't good, though. They ended up building Fort Dearborn, which, by the way, now is literally just a plate in the ground because I guess the stuff got burnt down during the Chicago fire. The reason they found Fort Dearborn, though, was to, make it, like, officially claim the land, like, for real. Like, make it official. But of course, the larger the ships got over time, the harder it was to pass through the elephant trunk-shaped river. By the way, is now Michigan Avenue. That's just that one part of Michigan Avenue. But they basically thought, why don't we just make the river better? So basically, they decided to just dig, a bunch of new canals, but they didn't really have the proper technology at the time. And Mother Nature blew wind and sand and basically just told them, ain't gonna happen. And basically, after all that stuff, they just messed up their whole months of work because it filled back up with sand. I can't lie, I would be pretty pissed. Yeah, bruh, me too. But in 1833, Congress appointed funds to improve the harbor and build piers to fortify the channel. Now, I might be wrong, but I feel like this is kind of irregular and kind of insane for a lake at the time that was not that big. You got to also remember that this is all because they just want a shortcut. Yeah, so this is where it kind of gets crazy. Basically, this guy Gordon S. Hubbard was one of the longest people in Chicago up to that point. He was there before it boomed. He was there when it was somewhat still a pretty green land with farms and stuff like that. He grew up in Vermont and came to Chicago in 1818 to work when he was in his 20s. So he was there for a pretty long time, up to the late 1800s, early 1900s. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, when they expanded the lake, it kind of got all messy and they already ruined it already. So it was being called Mud Lake. And he basically was like, okay, so why don't we build a canal just to ease the transportation, number one, make it back to kind of where it was before. It was kind of like a restoration canal. So it improves the overall health of the lake. This guy also owned a few businesses and would throw events and would have people just go on the lake, skate, do all that stuff when the river was frozen over. People also eventually were inspired by this guy and took inspiration, and they basically were like, what if we combine a river, the Chicago River, combined with another river that's just over there called Des Plaines or whatever, and what if we just combine that to make a big river? Genius. At this point, Hubbard was kind of like, he went from being like a cool guy who did all this other stuff to being the Lorax. In response to their ideas, he basically said, no guys, don't build the river. If you do that, it's going to destroy the place. It's going to turn this little place into a big ass city. And we don't want it to be a city. We want to keep the original route. We want to keep the original beauty of this location. And spoiler alert, as you can see, them MFs didn't listen. By the way, y'all like my mustache? This is my mustache. This is my Lorax mustache, or my Hubbard mustache, depending on who you want to look at. Did he have a mustache? I don't know. They also had to dig the river deeper, and it took 12 years to finish the 96-mile deep hole, or thing. And get this, by the way, the workers were mainly immigrants who were from Ireland or Canada, and they got paid in a pint of whiskey and $1 a day, which is crazy for 15 hours of work. After that, shipping got easier. That was like the main part. So for a while, the river kind of just got turned into a bunch of ships and boats and cargo stuff, and it was just pretty crowded. Here's a picture of that. Here you go. They, of course, started a whole lot of construction, starting to, trying to lift the city out of the mud after the Chicago fire because it was in the mud. And, they put some new sewer systems in there. They, of course, in order to, make everything also, they also had to widen the river. They're going to widen, like, what? Come on, bro. Like, come on.
It's like your brain doesn't fucking work. You idiot. You're honestly an idiot. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, if you don't know what dredging is, it's the process of essentially kind of removing the silt and the dirt and the gravel and the sand off the bottom of a water thing, a water source, or like a water, like a big thing of water. And it's kind of just making so it's kind of like digging deeper, but it's like, just removing the sand off the bottom of the whatever it is. Of course, that's not good. That's not good for the whatever the water source is. In this case, it's not good for the river. It wasn't good for the river to do that anyway. And by the way, what he means by lifting the city off of the mud, basically because Chicago to this day is a city that's basically lifted up. We have something called Lower Wacker Drive, which is the under part of Chicago. I feel like it's gonna turn into like Batman Beyond.
You ever seen that where Gotham's has levels to it? It's like Chicago has levels to it. The bottom floor is where all the homeless people are. And it's kind of fun to be at in the night. I just wouldn't go after 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared, of course, but I mean, it's kind of fun to go down there. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Some homeless people you can say what's up to. Even though one time I saw a homeless person with a phone. They're lying. They're lying to themselves. But yeah. It's just kind of elevated. It's kind of fun. It's little tunnels. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of what he means. And they started building that back then at that time.
Also, because Chicago was also still technically a Greenland, they had a bunch of slaughterhouses around. So get this, right? Now, combined with the construction and all the excess guts and blood and stuff, what do you think their solution was to get rid of all that stuff? I don't know. What? Do you really want to know? Yes! The answer was, just throw that shit in the river, bruh. By the way, also everyone's sewage and waste from their house would also go in the river. And people were also swimming in that river. And it was also the primary source of drinking water. Like, bro, I'm a break character for a second. That is actually extremely stupid, bro. Yeah, so outbreaks of everything started popping up. Dysentery, chloria, typhoid, all that stuff started popping up. So they tried a whole lot of things to solve the problem. They were like, what if we just drain the water into the Mississippi? But I guess due to the flow of the water and how everything worked, that just didn't work. So their solution was to reverse the flow of the water. Stop the cap. No, you think I'm lying, but I'm actually not lying, bro. That's actually what they tried to do. And it did work for the most part. Chicago's water system kind of now goes to something called the Chicago... Wait, let me check. The water now drains and stuff, and all that stuff goes to the Chicago area waterways. Also, to take a quick step back, the reason they started doing a lot of this construction is kind of like mentioned earlier, because of the Chicago fire. Which, if you don't know what the Chicago fire is, first of all, are you living under a rock? And second of all, let me just explain it to you. Essentially, a cow kicked over a lantern, supposedly, and it set the entire town on fire. Now, they made most of these things out of wood at the time, because concrete and all that other stuff was expensive. So they built it up and all the wood, and so the whole town got butch. That it got burned to the ground. That's my sound effect for it getting burned to the ground. All that dirt and all the ashes and everything like that just went into the river. And remember, the boats were still clustered out there, right? So one of the ways to remove that, because also, by the way, they had to rebuild the whole city. It got burned down. Was to build the pier, Navy Pier, and a bunch of other piers. You know, Navy Pier is my favorite and everyone's favorite Chicago amusement park. I know, right? You kind of forget that it's an actual pier. But they also built a bunch of iconic bridges that, you know, people in Chicago have come to know. And it's a great place to take pictures at, of course. Even though they're rusty, 100-year-old bridges that still work. What else, man?
In the Great Depression, people started living in floating houses because of money. And of course, when they didn't have any sewage, they just threw the stuff in the water. Chicago, of course, built more treatment plants. A boat with immigrants sank and people die. But part of the boat and people's skeletons are still in the water to this day because they basically said, screw it.
Yeah, I mean, that's about it. Now, would I say the river is safe to swim in today? Hell nah, bruh. You know, because me and my mom go kayaking there sometimes, or she'll be like, by the way, it's not my choice. She'll just be like, let's go kayaking. But we'll go kayaking in the Chicago River, and it's still visibly dirty. There's still, not dead animals, like dead, like turtles, like looking like this with their stomach, with like they're dead.
But after almost a century, I really don't think that river will ever be fully fixed and ever fully repaired. Especially because people still, it's a city, right? People still throw stuff in there. People still, pollute it, whether they like it or not. Even if there's just a bag blowing in the wind in the city, that probably will end up in the river. And that's unfortunate. That's why rivers shouldn't be in the city. And also, like, Chicago has a really bad habit of they just leave stuff completely abandoned. A lot of those old canals are still there. A lot of those old waterways are still there. Empty tubes. Everything's just abandoned. Completely abandoned. Even those old houses that they used to have on there, the little floating houses that he talked about earlier, the floating, like, the piers, are, like, some of the docks are still there. Like, bro, it's been like a century.
So hopefully, it will get better. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, hit the like button, and yeah, listen to the music, stream the music, do all that shenanigans. Anyway, you have anything else to say? Nah, I think it's good. Ladies, stay pretty, stay beautiful. Guys, do your thing. My name is Asteroidpine. I'm the GOAT. All right, I guess that's it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Peace.